This is the Relentless Podcast. My name is Christine. I'm a small business owner and student of success. I have become obsessed with talking with other entrepreneurs about their strategies, struggles, tactics, and routines. One of the key qualities that all of these individuals have in common, their ability to be relentless. Welcome back to the Relentless Podcast. I'm Christine Van Duzen. I am so excited about our guest today. He has never done a public interview before, and he's usually making moves in silence. So we are so excited. Welcome to the show, Dan Sessler.
Thank you for having me.
So people in the area are probably pretty familiar with the Sessler name, but they may not know about you. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm born and raised here in Waterloo. I have three wonderful children. I was part of the Sessler companies all growing up. My grandma and grandpa Sessler, they started in 1958. And since I was born, I was always part of those companies up until about a few years ago when there was a separation that happened and I went off on my own.
Yeah, that must have been a pretty crazy time. And so you kind of grew up like witnessing entrepreneurship and how to grow and build a company. So when it came time for you to, transition out of that company, what was that like? What was your decision?
Well, it was nothing I had planned. It was something that really happened overnight. Growing up in those companies, I started out working for my grandfather and I really looked up to him.
Sure.
And he always told me, you can never tell a man to do something you can't do yourself.
Yeah.
And if you want to, be the leader of these companies someday, you have to start at the bottom and learn every position coming up through. So
yeah,
it was a long, hard road, but, I certainly did start right at the botome, sweeping all the shop floors and eventually, in no particular order here, but just the order that I did things, but taking care of the shop, being a mechanic to a labor out on the jobs, to a truck driver, to an operator, to a foreman, superintendent, project manager.
Oh, wow.
Eventually, working your way up into the office and into the upper management of the companies.
Yeah, so that had to be an incredible education. And I mean, being in an organization, you always kind of find your strengths, things that you're good at, things that you love about the job, things that maybe you don't love about the job. So when you set on your own, what was something that you took from your experience there that you put into your next project?
Well, inside of those companies, everything I just said, that gave me a world of experience.
Yeah.
It was a hard road, but it definitely gave me a world of experience. But inside of those, it wasn't just the one, but we did form other companies, organically formed them and everything else. So I did have experience doing stuff like that. But I think the biggest change for me is when I was outside of those companies, doing it on your own. When you're inside of something like that, there's always people there because, you shared ownership and you shared this and that. So, there was always somebody, there was a checks and balance inside of that stuff.
Sure.
But when you're out on your own, it is just you and you only.
Stops with you. Yep.
Yeah. So I think I would say that was probably the biggest change. So once it happened, there was kind of a moment of, okay, what are you going to do here? You got to go out and you got to form, your own teams and everything.
Yeah.
But, once I had that, I said, I got this.
Yeah. Well, and for those who don't know, you kind of evaluated what you were going to do next, and you started a company that was kind of in line with some things that you were familiar with. So tell us about that.
Yeah. So outside of those companies, I did start a company called Sessler Bridge with some other partners. I would say the biggest reasons for starting those companies was me going back into my comfort zone, something that I've done my entire life. It's what I did do. I was presented, with some other great business partners. And at the time, I think it's also important, I was going through a divorce. So when you go through something like that, you've lost a lot at that point.
Yeah.
Your head's in a different place and everything else. So I did fall back into my comfort zone, and we did form that company called Sessler Bridge,
Mm-hmm.
and it did grow to be it was growing at a very rapid rate.
Sure.
We had some huge successes in there, and
Mm-hmm.
ultimately at the end, we were forced to shut that down due to cost of insurance.
Yeah, New York
Um,
State.
yeah, so we did. We were faced with a hard business decision where
Okay.
we couldn't move far. I mean, we could have, but it would have taken a lot of years
Yeah.
to recoup the money.
Mm-hmm.
So we did make the decision to just say, let's shut it down.
Mm-hmm.
We gave millions and millions in contracts back,
Wow.
and it was a hard thing because you work so hard to get
Yeah, to
stuff like
secure
that.
those, I
Yeah,
bet. Yeah. Well, oh my gosh, there's so much there. So, I mean, you basically, in every aspect of your life, were faced with starting from scratch. I mean, everything that you had kind of been building up until that point. And I feel like so many of us go through something like that, maybe not of that magnitude, but where it's almost like everything has to kind of fall apart before you are forced to say, okay, what do I want to do next? What am I going to do next? And a lot of times in those moments, you kind of find what you're made of, and you almost are forced into, being confident. And I mean, to do something like that, you have to have at least a little bit of self-confidence. Is that something that comes naturally to you, or is that something that you've developed over your life?
I think it's something that I've gained a lot more of over the course of my life.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I've certainly have I've had a lot of wins in my life.
Mm-hmm.
I've had a lot of losses.
Right.
But I think where you gain the most self confidence is when you come directly from a big loss to
To a
a
win.
win,
Yeah.
and I think that's where I gain the most of it.
Yeah, absolutely. So, what were some of the biggest challenges that you faced transitioning from kind of being an entrepreneur in the Sessler companies and now being out on your own? What was like the biggest challenge of that?
Once I got used to the whole concept of being, the only person out there, and you're out there on your own, and once I had my own teams
Mm-hmm.
of professionals, that had my back,
Yep.
I think I was good to go at that point.
Yeah. So you're not like this dictating leader. You kind of surround yourself with knowledgeable people and kind of are steering the ship, but you can count on people beneath you. Is that kind of how you lead?
Certainly, I can't be an expert in
Yeah.
every profession. So, I have my accountants that take care of that. The attorneys take care of the attorney things, and
Mm-hmm.
you really lean on those people.
Yeah.
Even though I've been through so much that you kind of know,
Mm-hmm.
but you really need experts in their field for stuff.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's good to surround yourself with good people.
Yes.
So did you have any moments of like, what the hell am I doing? Why did I do this? Why did I have to be so principled? Why did I have to do this? Why did I have to chart my own path? Why, because I feel like that would have, you know, made so many people turn back. And you just seemed so determined to do this. So did you have any moments where you doubted what you were doing?
There was certainly moments where you say, "What the heck are you doing here?"
Mm-hmm.
You could have had such an easier life doing this, but it really wasn't an easier life. It was a life that
Right.
I always felt like I was being held back.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I would say being outside of it all, doing things on your own, you don't feel like you're held back at all. There's
Right.
certainly more weight on your shoulders,
Yeah.
but it's a different kind of weight. It's more of a freedom
Yeah,
type of a weight
absolutely.
to where you're doing your own thing. Yes, it's all on you. You
Mm-hmm.
screw this up, you're gonna lose it all.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting too, because I feel like so many people find themselves on a path and they have this moment where like, was this my dream or was this put here by somebody else? And you kind of think like, did somebody else plan out my life for me? Why am I doing that? But it is scary. It's really scary to kind of go out on your own. And I mean, once you made the decision to shut down Sessler Bridge, you transitioned to something else. So tell us about that.
yeah, so after having to close down the bridge company,
Mm-hmm.
I took that one very, very hard. When you organically start a company, and I did with my partners, it's almost like a child in a way.
Yeah, it's your baby.
Because you almost spend more time with that business than you do the child, and you're forming it. You're putting everything you have into that company.
Yeah.
Every minute that you have. And if you're not there, you're always thinking of things
all the time.
All the time. It just consumes you.
Yeah.
And so once you start to see that start to take off, and then have to give it all up for reasons outside of your control. I took it really, really hard. So I did take a little bit, and I sat back and I kind of said, all right, what do I want to do? What did I like about the businesses that I was in? What did I not like about the businesses?
Yeah.
And really, I think what I really settled on was a quality of life thing.
Yeah.
To where I said, I can never work for somebody at this point. You know, I got to do my own thing. So I thought about that. I thought about organically starting a company, but I was very gun shy with insurances.
Sure.
At this day and age that you live in.
Yeah.
If you don't have, 3 years loss runs and, historical data and everything, it's very difficult to get insurances at a decent rate that can be afforded.
Okay.
And I think that I really did settle on the quality of life thing and being able to be there for my kids. So it was very important for me when I was looking at businesses to purchase, because that's what I settled on, was to buy a business.
Yeah.
And I did come across this one. It's called INS of New York. It's an oil and gas well drilling and servicing company.
Okay.
It's been in business for 38 years.
Oh, wow.
It was one of about 7 businesses that I was looking at.
Okay.
I can't share what the other businesses are, so please
all right.
So please don't ask me. But if anybody's listening, it doesn't mean all those are off the table right now. But it was it was important for me to look at that business. That it's pretty much a Monday through Friday business.
Okay.
It's not a lot of holidays. It's not a lot of weekends, and
it's all on the East Coast, right?
Yeah, it's in like West Virginia, Pennsylvania, Ohio, New York.
Wow. Okay.
So, but it's a different pace of work, a different type of work. Yeah.
So I mean, that's got to be. You mentioned the pace of it, and there's got to be significant differences between an established business that's been operating, that has great teams and great systems and all these things in place, versus a startup. So like, what have been the biggest differences between starting your own company and coming in and taking over another?
I would say the price tag, for one.
Yeah.
You're
yes, I'm sure.
It's certainly going to cost you a lot more money to purchase an operating business, but it certainly does cost you a lot of money to organically start a business as well.
Yeah.
But I would say that as long as you do your homework, looking at the business, I actually went to work inside of this business for about a month.
Okay.
Just to get the, see what it felt like, see what the employees were talking about, what was going on inside the company.
Yeah.
And ultimately I did decide to purchase it.
Yeah.
But I think it's, in every company, the employees are what make a company. So once I realized that those employees had been there for 25, 30, 35 years.
Yeah.
They really liked the work. They really liked the owner. It was almost a no-brainer that this was the right business to purchase.
Yeah. Well, that's incredible. And I mean, when you were going through all of this, did you deal with haters? I mean, we talked about self-doubt, but no matter what you do, there's always going to be somebody in your life, kind of that either doubts your abilities or says you can't do this or you shouldn't do this. Did you deal with any of that?
All the time. And you still do, every single day.
Yeah.
There's, I've come to terms with, no matter what I do, there's going to be people that are not going to be happy with it.
Yeah.
So, I'm always going to do the right thing, or the right thing that I think.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm going with from now on.
Yeah.
It's just, I'm just going to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's always, the word or the term haters, it's like a buzzword, but I mean, it really is something that it's tough because, you can say, or I can say, oh, it doesn't matter, but that creeps in a little bit. And when you already, I mean, I'm a big self-critic. I mean, some of the harshest things ever said about me were from me. So I'm always, evaluating and reevaluating. And so sometimes when someone doubts you, you get that little bit of imposter syndrome, like, oh my God, are they right? Am I crazy? Am I not doing the right thing? And I think that it's just part of the equation. It's interesting, a podcast that I listen to, they talk about it and they're like, just notice that people never say that. Like, you never hear it from someone who's done more than you or someone above you. It's always coming from people who haven't put themselves in the vulnerable situation that you have. They have no idea the risks that you take and the sleepless nights and all those things. Because I don't know about you, but I'm not looking to tear any other business owner down. We know what they're sacrificing,
No, you're absolutely right. I mean, there's been so many people who've just tried to tear me down as hard as they can, and
Yeah.
even though it might bring you down a little bit, but no matter what, I'm always going to get back up. I'm never going to give up, and I think that that's one of the most important things when you own a business is don't ever give up.
Yeah.
And you're always gonna have haters, and you're always gonna hear that, but you don't necessarily have to listen to it. If you're gonna feed into all the negativity or want to listen to everything that everybody has to say, you're never gonna go anywhere.
Yeah.
And not the people who've never owned a business, I don't listen to them, but you've really got to listen to the people that have been in your shoes before.
Yeah.
That's where you're gonna get the most knowledge from.
Yeah.
It's hard for somebody who's never had a business to give you any advice on your business.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like that's such an important point to, surround yourself. You mentioned your grandfather was your mentor. Do you have any other people in your life that if you have a big business decision or you want to bounce an idea off of that you can go to?
Yeah, there are certainly other business owners that I will talk to, that I'll collaborate with, and things like this, run things by, say, hey, what do you think about this?
Yeah.
Think people that I can trust.
Yeah. Yeah. It's nice to have that validation. I feel like a lot of times, because I don't have a formal degree, this is the first venture I've been on, that a lot of times I'll find myself and I'm a little bit unsure, and it's nice to be able to reach out to somebody and just say, like, is this crazy? Do you think I can do this? Or, what should I think about when doing this? And I mean, I've even done that with you at some point. So I appreciate that. So if there's someone out there who they're in a situation that they're not happy with, whether it's their relationship, their job, they want to take a big leap in their life, but they're just scared to do it, what advice would you give to them?
I'm the guy who will always tell people, go for what makes you happy, go for it.
Yeah.
If you have this feeling in your stomach or this inkling to want to start a business, to do something different, especially if you're young, as long as it's safe and it's not going to destroy you.
Yeah.
I say go for it.
Yeah.
I'm the one who's, if I go out with my friends and they all have great jobs working for great companies and everything else. And, if they possibly start talking about want to start a business, I'm the first one to say, okay,
you're like, let's do it. Yeah.
I know exactly what we got to do.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. Because I mean, the importance of having supportive people around you, it can really make a difference in things. And yeah, it's such a scary thing. And I heard something one time and it kind of stopped me in my tracks, because they were saying that, you don't want to just ask yourself, what could go wrong? What could I lose if I do this? It's more, you've got to put yourself 10 years in the future and what's your life going to look like if you don't do it? Are you going to be in the same place you're in? And it was just like, holy shit. I mean, that to me, that's more terrifying than doing something and falling flat on my face. I would rather go down swinging and look like a total fool than be like, I never took that chance. I didn't believe in myself. And so, I mean, do you kind of have in the back of your mind, are you trying to avoid regrets? Are you someone who just is like, I'm going to make this work and it doesn't matter, I'll figure it out? How do you feel about taking risks in life?
I would say when I was younger, I would take a lot more risks and not think about them as much. But, now I take more calculated risks.
Yeah.
It depends on what it is. I think one thing that I've done a lot more as I've gotten older, and everything is sometimes you get so busy working inside a business, doing the everyday day-to-day stuff
Yeah.
that, everything's going great. The numbers look great. Your clients are happy,
Mm-hmm.
everything is going, you don't think anything is going wrong.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden you look up and you're like, oh crap, what direction are we headed?
Mm-hmm.
And what I've done now is I found the importance in taking some time to
Yeah.
not always work inside the business, but work on the business
Yes.
a lot more, which means a lot of, there's nothing wrong with taking a few hours, stepping away,
Mm-hmm.
saying, okay, what, where are we going? Where do I want this thing to go?
Yeah.
Because as good as things might be, you might be steering that ship right into an iceberg.
Yeah. I feel like you were here today to tell this to me, Dan, because I find myself caught up in that a lot because I am very in the business all the time. We have some more established employees now where I can step away. And this is kind of the first time that I've had that. And yet I still find myself kind of doing some of the same things and going through the motions. And, I've had some time recently to think to myself, like, am I slowing down the momentum of this business by not having a bigger vision, and getting back to, because when I started, I didn't have like a 10-year business plan of like, these are the milestones I want to hit. I kind of stumbled into it. So, I've kind of built some of those goals. I do like a reevaluation every year, and these are the things I want to do and accomplish. But, I had kind of an aha moment where I'm like, I think I'm just kind of doing the muscle memory thing. I'm just kind of doing what's comfortable, and what do I need to do to stretch to that next level? And so I think you were here to do an intervention with me on that today. So, so thank you for that.
I can promise I wasn't, but.
Well, and you mentioned your children, and you're a father of 3, and you really seem to prioritize work ethic and strong values in your kids. You've brought them to the job site. I think one of them works with you. So tell us, why is that so important to you?
Yeah, I mean, my kids, they mean the world to me. They're everything to me.
Yeah.
Everything I do is for them.
Yeah.
And I think it's very important for parents these days to raise good kids.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of the problem these days is parents want to be their kids' best friends.
Mm-hmm.
And they think that it's the school system's jobs or other people's jobs to teach them responsibility and
right.
and respect and stuff like that. But
Mm-hmm.
I believe it comes within the home.
Yeah.
Because however you want your kids to act out there,
yes,
they're going to act inside the home that way.
Yeah.
And it's nobody else's job but the parents.
Right.
So that's very important for me.
Yeah.
But it's also very important for me to let my kids enjoy life,
Mm-hmm.
be kids,
Yeah.
show them that there's rewards for hard work.
Yeah.
That's one of the biggest things. They know that, sure, they might have a pool, they might have a boat, they might have this, that, and everything else, but it comes from dad's hard work.
Yeah.
And if they want that someday, the only way they're going to get it is from their own hard work.
Yeah.
So they know that.
Yeah. That's so valuable. I mean, I grew up watching my mom struggle financially when my parents split up. And I mean, even before that, I was obviously too young to remember this, but she needed to earn some money, and she was cleaning houses in the area with me on her back. She just did what she had to do. She couldn't afford childcare. When my brother was young, she actually started a daycare so that she could earn a living. And, and she started at as a low-level clerk at the county, and then transitioned into the court system. And when she retired, she was the chief clerk of family court. And, I saw her do that without a degree. And it was all perseverance and hard work. And I mean, and she was such a good example for me to see that she was going through a divorce. She was on her own for the first time at the same time that she was starting this new job. And, I think about it and I'm like, I don't ever remember seeing her like frazzled or freak out or anything. She just kept things so steady, at least in our company, and it was just such a valuable thing to see, because my brother and I both have incredible work ethic, sometimes to a fault, but because we saw that equation very young. If you want something, you have to work for it. Nobody's going to come and rescue you. Nobody's going to give you, anything for free. You have to earn it. So, I mean, it's really good that even though, your children have these privileges in life, that they're getting that education. So to continue to perform at such an elite level and such a high level, you have to be a disciplined person. At least that's my perspective. What are some of your routines and regimens that keep you on track?
I think you need to be both disciplined, self-driven.
Mm-hmm.
It's very important. Organization is very, very important if you're going to be doing a lot of things. So I typically my day, I get up between 4 and 5 o'clock in the morning every single day.
Mm-hmm.
I try to make it a point every day to get into the gym,
Mm-hmm.
which I hate. I absolutely hate going into the gym. But
Well, I have a great podcast you could listen to while you work out.
that's okay. But I like the way it makes me feel and look and everything else.
Yeah.
Then I come back home and I do some office work, and then at that point, my day could be putting a suit on for the day and having to go to a meeting. It could mean putting work boots on and going out to the job sites. It could mean throwing a polo on and going just into the office to do other things. So my days vary all over the place, but usually I back my days up from when I got to be back wherever for one of my kids' events.
Yep.
At the end of the day.
They keep you running.
They certainly do.
Yeah. Well, and you mentioned that you're looking into some other companies. So I know we can't get specific here, but obviously you said that you're in oil drilling, and, climate change and the future of energy in our country is a big hot topic right now. So are you kind of staying in the loop with solar and wind and some other companies?
Well, certainly. And this comes back to, what I said about, take a step back, look at where your company is, look at where it's going. I think we're all fooling ourselves if we really think that using the Earth's natural resources that we've used for so many years is really going to go anywhere.
Yeah.
But I'd also think I'd be a fool if I wasn't looking into where the rest of the world is going.
Right.
And that there could possibly be, in which there is, a wave of the need for solar, the need for wind, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I certainly am looking into those.
That's great. Yeah. I mean, I think it'll probably end up being some type of balance of those two. Not that I'm as well versed in it, I'm sure, as you are, but, and it's kind of crazy. I'm on some committees and boards in the area. And so I've had like a peek into government and policy and regulation. And one of the things I always am thinking about is it's like we can set out and have this, well thought out plan and be executing. And all of a sudden the state will come in with a new policy and it can change everything. I mean, we saw it during COVID. So, are you just kind of being mindful of the changing regulations and how to kind of hedge your bets a little bit so that you're protected?
You certainly do. And I mean, I think it's important to do your own homework. Don't always just believe the news or what's in the, don't always believe what you read.
Yeah.
Make sure you do your own homework on stuff and take a step back and look at where it could possibly be going.
Yeah. Well, Dan, you've had a pretty wild few years. So what is one of the biggest lessons that you've learned over those years?
I've had a lot of lessons that I've learned. I wouldn't say there's any big one that stands out, but there's certainly been quite a few of them.
Yeah.
That I've learned.
Learning every day.
I think one is, when you're making big decisions, take a step back, take your time, look at them.
Yeah.
And maybe run them by somebody just to get somebody else's perspective.
Yeah.
Perspective on something, but take your time on big decisions.
Yeah, for sure. How do you, I should say, do you balance social life? Have you gotten better at balancing work and social life, or do you still struggle with that?
I would say I still struggle a little bit with it. I've always been all about work. I've always put that over the top of everything, hard work. And everything else. And now I've I've tried to take a step back and enjoy life a lot more.
Yeah.
I think that that's very, very important. And what I've noticed is actually does help the business because it helps it helps your mindset a little bit.
Yeah.
Makes you think a little bit clearer when you can take a step away. But
Yeah.
I certainly want to spend a lot more time, enjoying myself a lot more now. 'Cause I
Yeah.
certainly haven't done it in years.
Yeah. I know. I think every guest that's come on, we've talked about like that nagging guilt when you walk away and take time for yourself. But it's so true what you said. I mean, I've gotten to a place of burnout many times and I'm not performing at my optimum level, right? I'm making mistakes or I'm more hesitant on something when if I had just taken a day to rest, I could have looked at it with, a fresh perspective. And so I think that's something that entrepreneurs just struggle with so much. So what is something that people might not know about you? I know you're a very play your cards close to the vest guy, but let's see if we can crack you open a little bit.
I'm really an open book. I'm very transparent with everything.
Mm-hmm.
People can, come up to me and ask me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really a nice guy. Some people might,
Yeah.
you keep a grin on your face and stuff like that, and you walk straight, and
yeah.
That's just who I am.
Yeah, no, and it's great. I mean, like I say, I've experienced it myself. I did some interior design work for you, and I kind of used my time there to say, Dan, can I run some things by you? And you were very open, and so I really appreciate that. So I'm going to move into some rapid fire questions. I added some, so you won't know what they are ahead of time. Are you ready?
Can I say pass?
No.
Okay.
You can take as much time as you need to think about it. They're not too hard. Okay. What does being successful mean to you today?
I think just being a good, honest person, that means a lot. I want to be, a very successful business person.
Mm-hmm.
I want my kids to be successful. I want them to be good people.
Yeah.
I think that means a lot to me.
Yeah. What's your biggest strength?
I would think my my hard work.
Yeah.
I think that would probably be my biggest strength.
Yeah. You got some brass ones too. You've made some pretty big moves. What's something that you're working on right now?
As far as businesses or
just do you have a little passion project? Is there a current goal that you're working on? What's something that you're working on right now?
I have personal goals. I have business goals that I'm working on. But nothing really in particular.
Okay. Keeping it to yourself. All right. When it's time for you to cut loose and relax, what are you doing?
I'm open to do a lot of different things. When I have my kids, it's all about my kids. And it's all about doing stuff with them. And but if I don't have the kids and they don't have any events or anything going on, you might find me on the boat. You might find me taking a ride on my motorcycle, going out with friends.
Mm-hmm.
I like to cut loose sometimes and enjoy myself.
Yep.
Or you might find me just sitting on the front porch and just thinking about stuff. Sometimes, when you're so busy, it's nice to just enjoy silence.
Yeah, having nothing on the schedule is like very exhilarating for me when I look and see I don't have to be anywhere. It's so nice. If you could go back and tell your younger self one piece of advice, what would it be?
Ooh, a lot of things. There's a lot of things.
Yeah.
Just no matter what in life, just be a good person. Make sure you continue to be a good person. Be honest.
Mm-hmm.
And that's probably the most important things. Value relationships.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a big one. So this has been so nice talking to you. Obviously, we've had some chats, off the record, but I really appreciate you being here. I think you have so much value for people. If someone wants to kind of follow along and see what you do next, where could they follow you?
I would say just call me and reach out to me, and I'm very open with a lot of stuff. So
yeah,
I'd certainly like to help anyone in any way I can.
Yeah. So slide in those DMs. All right. Well, thank you so much again for being here. And guys, if you enjoyed this episode, please feel free to share it, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching and listening. Be sure to follow us on all the socials: YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook.